Now, Effective Communication with Phil Zeller, CEO, Dale Carnegie, Southwest Michigan.
So has anybody hijacked your conversation lately? You're in the middle of talking to somebody and you're having this great conversation. It's important to you, and somebody else jumps in and forces himself into the conversation and just flips the apple cart over and everything goes flying. So there I was in this situation just this past week. I was with a get-together with a bunch of folks, and one father's having a conversation with his daughter, and it's a conversation between a father and a child, and it's a positive conversation, and they're working through a difference of opinion, trying to get a generational gap filled in there, and they're working on their communication to have a conversation, and dad's trying to understand the daughter. The daughter is wanting dad to understand how she feels, and maybe you've been in that situation before with somebody and you quite don't understand what the other person's thinking or why they're thinking it, and they don't understand why you don't understand what they're thinking and why they're thinking it. And that happens a lot between parents and their kids. It really does, because it's like, well, you should just know. You should just know. Has anybody ever said that before? Well, you should just know. What you're saying is, that's not me, and that's you're not thinking about me. That's just your perspective, right? Well, this happens all the time in communication. People make assumptions, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, boom, he's in this conversation with his daughter, and then somebody jumps in and starts to come to the defense of his daughter, basically saying, yeah, she's right, you don't understand. And I was thinking, okay, I'm trying to have a conversation with my daughter. We're trying to get on the same page, and I'm not understanding. Now I got somebody else who jumps in and is trying to console her because I don't understand. And so you can see how that situation can get really emotional very quickly, very emotional. And the challenge is, with so many times in communication, we forget that we're dealing with people, and people are not creatures of logic. They are creatures of emotion. This is what Dale Carnegie found in his research. We are emotional beings. We begin with emotion, we end with emotion. Oh, by the way, we use logic to support the way we feel. That's why you've had conversations or disagreements with somebody in the past couple of years where it got really emotional and the logic went out the window. Well, welcome to the human race. And sometimes we forget that. And sometimes we make assumptions that people should just understand the logic, and they should understand that the logic is really important. Here's the challenge. We're human beings, and human beings are emotional. So if we talk about communication, it's not all logical. We can talk about the theory of communication, how communication works, and that's logical thinking. And in reality, at the end of the day, did the person do what you needed them to do after you communicated? Did you get the results you were looking for through that conversation, whatever it was you were looking? Because we've shared it with you before on the show, all communication has a purpose. The question is, do you understand what that purpose is? And you say, well, what that person's saying doesn't make sense. Well, it may make sense to them. It doesn't make sense to you. And that's okay. Let's not make an assumption that what they're saying doesn't make sense, because in their world, it does at some level, or they won't be communicating it. And what they're trying to do is communicate the way they feel. So this is a challenge with all people. And this is a challenge in the field of communication, because we forget the human element is truly emotional. So as you look at these conversations that you're having with people, are you understanding your own emotions in the conversation? Are you understanding the other person's emotions in the conversation? Or are you so focused on just making a point that their emotions don't matter because you have logical evidence to prove them wrong? What is it that you're trying to do? Well, maybe you're in a court of law and that's your goal. I don't know. But the reality is, I'm going to challenge you to say, understand that people are emotional creatures. And this is why they don't always make sense. And even the most brilliant people you know, and I've had a really cool opportunity in my life to be around a lot of brilliant people in different subject areas. And what I found is that they're brilliant in their certain areas, and other areas they're not. And that's another fact about human beings. They're not experts in everything. They're experts in what they study and what they practice and what they know. And so when you take them outside of that, well, you get more of that emotional, more of that human out of them, because it's more of the way they feel. It's like, I have a feeling about this. I just got a gut feeling about this. Have you caught yourself saying that before? And it just validates the fact that we are emotional, because we say irrational things like that. Well, I just got a gut feeling. You know, it's just a feeling I have. Okay, based upon what? Well, it's how I feel. So as you have these conversations with other people, and as you look at conversations, ask yourself, what's the dynamic going on here? What's the emotional context of this conversation before you just jump into it, or before you make an assumption about that conversation, what's going on, and truly seek the time to understand that there's emotions at play here in every conversation. And if you do this, the great thing is you won't stick your foot in your mouth because you understand you're dealing with human beings. And that's the most valuable thing that you have in your life. Now go make it happen.